Hello again. I observed that the National Maritime Museum in London is holding a special day-long event on August the 23rd to mark the anniversary of the beginning of a rebellion in Haiti, or Santo Domingo as it then was. What has this to do with the British Navy, you ask? By which I mean, why should our National Maritime Museum be mixed up in this affair? Let's have a look and see what Britain's involvement was in the matter. Here we are, a brief history of British sea power, absolute classic that I always turn to if I want to know anything about naval affairs. It covers everything from the Battle of the Atlantic to the Armada. No mention of Haiti or Santo Domingo. No mention of nothing at all. No naval engagements at Santo Domingo. That's curious. I mean, there were a few skirmishes between British and French ships in the Caribbean during the Napoleonic Wars, shortly after the rebellion. But the rebellion on that island had absolutely nothing at all to do with Britain. The National Maritime Museum wants to celebrate it, though, because it is connected with slavery, and by marking the event, they will show that they're on the right side politically. So even if it's nothing to do with our Navy, they may as well do something and hold a few workshops and do a bit of singing and so on. Let's face it, it's about the only chance they will have of getting black people to visit that particular museum. The problem is, though, that the museum doesn't seem to know much about the business at all, or indeed about slavery in general, which is worrying. In the description to this video, I give a link to the website of the National Maritime Museum and the page which advertises this day. We read that it is time to remember that people fought and died to establish their own freedom and liberation from the tyranny of enslavement. This is an attempt to do away with the idea of the white saviour and to show that black people themselves abolished slavery there. They didn't make a very good job of it without help from white people, as we shall see in a moment, but I'll come back to that. The web page concludes by saying this. In 2007, Britain commemorated 200 years since the 1807 Act for the Abolition of the slave trade, which outlawed the trade throughout the British Empire and made it illegal for British ships to be involved in it. This illegal trade continued for many years afterward, and slavery itself was not abolished in some countries until the late 1880s. Slavery itself was not abolished in some countries until the late 1880s. This is completely untrue. Slavery was not abolished in Saudi Arabia until the 1960s, and it was not made illegal in the African country of Mauritania until 1981. To claim that it was not abolished in some countries until the late 1880s suggests that this was when slavery came to an end, the 1880s, when it was in fact a century later. I can think of two possible explanations for the museum making such a statement. The first is that a national museum in this country is so ill-informed and ignorant that they honestly don't know anything at all about the history of slavery. That would, to say the least of it, be an unfortunate state of affairs, especially since they're organising a special exhibition and display about the history of slavery. The second possibility is that they have chosen deliberately to try and mislead people and to conceal the fact that slavery was still flourishing in Arab and African countries as late as the 1970s. You see, by pretending that slavery ended in the 1880s, it's possible to skate over the uncomfortable fact that it was African and Middle Eastern countries which wanted to hang on to slavery, rather than the white nations of Europe. That's frankly embarrassing. So my guess is this has been consciously misleading to stop people asking questions such as, And how did the abolition of slavery go in Haiti? What was happening after the 1880s? That really would be awkward, and far better to pretend that after the rebellion in Haiti drove out the French and established a self-governing black republic, slavery was at an end. Well, what did happen once the white slave owners were driven out of Haiti? That was the end of slavery, right? Haiti became a beacon of hope in the Caribbean and showed how slavery could be abolished? Well, no. You see, the truth is that slavery is still going strong in Haiti, even though that nation has been run by black people for over 200 years. They don't want to get rid of slavery. In the description to this video, I give a link to the campaign to end child slavery in Haiti. There are an estimated 300,000 child slaves in Haiti right now, even after 2 centuries of black rule. Getting the white man out didn't have the effect of ending slavery at all. There are more slaves in Haiti than any other country in the world, other than Mauritania. That's the black country which didn't make slavery illegal until 1981, but now turns a blind eye to it. The truth is that slavery is now practiced largely in black countries, where white people gave up being in charge a long time ago. Black countries and slavery seem to go together somehow. I think that the National Maritime Museum might reflect upon this and at the very least correct the misinformation which they are spreading. It doesn't make them look with it, merely devious and dishonest.